little housekeeping for us. We have a media feud now, which is pretty exciting.
It's been a while since I've had a media feud. When was the last time we were blocked on Twitter by anyone?
I tried to block him. Tried to block our podcast. It just wouldn't let me.
So
I tried to block my own article being pushed out.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to read this.
Nobody wants to read this. So this Justin, you can maybe set this up a little bit better, but there's this fella in New York City, and he is a traditional sexist asshole that we love so near and dear, and as defenders of just sports in general being played at the highest level. It's not really a gender thing at this point. I think you can appreciate hockey being played at the highest level, right? And the Beauts play it, and we've seen all these teams. You guys have traveled hours to call games, and so there's this announcer in he does studio work for the Rangers, and yesterday made some really dumb comments saying that the officiating in the Rangers game on, I believe it was Sunday, maybe it was Saturday, was that the officials basically should have gone and officiated a women's game because women's hockey is soft. That's basically the gist of what was going on. So,
I'm going to play it.
Yeah, why don't we play it? This is via Greg Wyshynski, and this is Ron Duguay's comments here after the Rangers game.
Clarify what I said earlier about the officials better off doing women's hockey. I felt like they didn't officiate a very rough game tonight. In women's hockey, there's no hitting. Right. That's why I said that. Nothing against women's hockey. I love women's hockey. I don't want the women angry with what I said. All right, Steve. Trust me. Okay. It's just the officiating. I didn't think they did a good job in this physical game. Let the game be decided by the players, not the officials, and that's why I was disappointed.
It was a tough.
So Ron has
that
lots
was the
of
walk back.
Yeah, Ron has lots of black friends, and he doesn't mean anything by this. Ron is an asshole. Ron wears no tie on television because he's proud of his chest hair. Ron was a journeyman in the NHL who probably could not go one-on-one with half of the NWHL at this point. But Ron is an expert on commenting on, basically what the old standard of, manning up, not being a pussy is. I'm sure that he was a huge fan of locker room talk back in the day, commenting on any, hot chick up in the stands that he wanted to bang, just that kind of stuff. So Ron goes on television, and what Ron does, and see, here's the funny part about Ron. Ron, if you challenge Ron on Twitter, Ron will block you. So Mr. Just 10 over here
It's been blocked twice in one
has
day.
been blocked twice. Once on the show account and then once on his personal account.
Oh, you heard his fifis?
Yeah, and
Don't have to try too hard, honestly. Just tweet at him.
yeah, so if
I'm probably going to get blocked now.
if you say something like, "Hey, Ron, bro, awesome, man, totally agree. Women's hockey sucks." He'll
Follow you.
he'll give you a fave, throw a star on that, and
now, thank you.
and really go to you. But if you it's 2018, and we've been breaking down ridiculous stereotypes for years now. But here's the part where where Ron struggles, is that he's an old guy, and again, like I said, no tie, just chest hair flowing or whatever, on television, and and no offense to women, but women's hockey is soft. Now, that's complete bullshit. Women's hockey is just as physical as any other hockey game out there. Any game that's played on the ice at this point is totally 100%. It's physical. It's the demands on these athletes. They're playing 60 minutes just like anybody else. I can't believe it's 2018 and we have to make these comments at this point. But this guy is a complete asshole and just decides to block anybody that challenges him on his outdated stereotypes.
And then we're going to do real quick. We're going to bring in Erik Wollschlager on the topic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
He was pretty salty about it this morning. Let's see what he's got to say. We'll just talk while it rings.
No, that's fine. We'll get Erik up here. This is
We'll do like quick 5 minutes.
live to tape radio here. This is exciting. But yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. And Eric's got a lot of traction tonight, or earlier this morning, I should say, on his actually incredibly accurate comments on Ron. So
He'll answer.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. You didn't text him
Really
before this, did you?
I did.
Oh, okay, good. Eric's a family man. He's probably busy raising children.
Yeah.
You know, breaking down gender
Things I've heard people
stereotypes like that
doing these days,
too.
yeah.
Yep.
Hi, you've reached the voicemail of Erik Wollschlager.
That's awkward.
Okay, well, we'll cut that in post. But anyway, point is that it's 2018. Can't believe we have to talk about it like this. Women's hockey is just as physical as men's hockey. I don't know. I'm getting a little
Ron
bit
is from an
tired
era
now.
where he never wore a helmet to play a hockey game. Like, this guy has no concept of playing a modern hockey game. He played a lot of hockey in his day. I mean, not to say that he doesn't know what the game is, but when he played minor league hockey, he actually signed a flyer so the teams allowed him to not wear a helmet because he kind of thought that was for pussies, basically.
Right, because manliness and masculinity and
risking your brain to concussion is the most manly thing you can do. Is at least that's what I've heard. And the odds of Ron having ever in his entire life watched a second of women's hockey other than maybe the Olympic gold medal game is less than 0%.
Oh, another early Neanderthal.
Yeah.
right. And
Justin was with me. Oh, there we go.
That's okay.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Justin.
You're live on the air, I think.
What's up, bud?
I'm live
Hey,
on the
Erik.
716 Sports Podcast.
Yeah, man.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How you been, buddy?
You know, doing this and that.
Hey, so you're getting into a bit of a tiff online with former Jacksonville Lizards King, great Ron Duguay. Do you want to make any comments to Ronnie before we cut the show off?
You know, I kind of find it ludicrous that someone who would call anybody soft has been blocking people who dare to question his integrity on Twitter right now.
Yep, and of course you're referring to Jacksonville Barracuda's great Ron Duguay. Go ahead, keep going.
It's really one of the most dumbfounding things that I've encountered on the internet in quite some time. He makes a ridiculous comparison between men's hockey and women's hockey, calling one of them soft, and then when a women's hockey player says, "Hey man, you didn't need to bring gender into this," he's like, "Blah, block."
Yeah, rather than actually face the consequences. And of course, we're talking about Jersey Rockhoppers legend Ronald Ronnie Duguay. Erik, this guy really kind of has some outdated stereotypes that he keeps going to, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he doesn't really seem to be too ashamed about it either. No public apology. His Twitter feed, his last tweet, as far as I know, was talking about how great last night's show was. So, really dying on that hill, I guess, if that's really how he wants to go down.
Yep, and of course we're referring to Mannheim ERC great Ron Duguay, who is currently on MSG television, spewing Neanderthalic stereotypes. Probably, do you think that Ron maybe is the type of guy that likes to, make sure that any lady companion is cooking a pot roast and giving them a firm slap on the behind before going and retiring to his den in his smoking jacket?
I wouldn't want to make any assumptions, but I really don't have any evidence to the opposite either. So
Sure.
I guess we'll have to go with if the shoe fits.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're talking about Brooklyn Aces legend Ron Duguay, who of course hung on for way too long before quietly retiring, and now he works for television with MSG. Erik, is there anything else that you want to get off your chest before we bid you adieu this evening?
I think that in the social and political environment these days, perhaps it's a little bit better to just not bring up other athletes when you're trying to make a comparison that would indicate that one of them is inferior. And why don't we just show some respect for other people as a general rule? Absolutely.
And as someone who is legendary in his career, as Ron is, I appreciate that you feel that way, Erik. Anybody else have anything real quick to say, or we'll let Erik get back to his fatherly duties?
Thanks, Erik.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Hey, God bless, buddy.
Bye.
I think that's the first time we've ever been interrupted by a phone call in the middle of talking.
Yeah, well, why
I kind
not?
of like that, actually. It's very organic.
Yeah, it worked out great. So I was just looking on Ron's Wikipedia page here real quick. It worked out
did not
pretty
get
well,
that impression at all.
No, that just came right off the dome. I'm a huge San Diego Gulls fan, but I didn't get a chance to mention them. So anyway, that's what we were dealing with online today, and kudos to Erik for standing up for people that shouldn't even have to be stood up for at this point, but... it's 2018. There's still some dumbasses out there on the social medias.
Tons of dumbasses. There's more and more dumbasses as time goes on. You can just you can watch the first game Justin and I called this season from Rochester, where there was literally an 8-player brawl on the corner of a women's hockey game.
It was like 18
because clearly they're super soft.
Yep, softest brawl
women
ever
have
time.
no interest in engaging physically. They
Well,
just want to skate around and watch the puck go. You know,
honestly, it was the most intense physical game I've seen in a couple of years of any hockey game.
Yeah. So of course, talking about any former Jacksonville Lizard Kings, I think that's something that we have to bring up in the future. Anywho, I think we're just about ready to call this one for the evening. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you to Dhane, the great Dhane Smith, joining us tonight. Bandits legend already.
25. When he said he was 25, I kind of cringed.
He's been around forever and ever.
He might be the first guest we've ever had that's younger than me. That really hits home.
Did I tell you guys the story when he came up from juniors? We asked him after his first game, "Hey, do you feel like these defenders are any tougher to beat than the guys in juniors?" And his answer, no, not really. That's how you knew he was going to be a legend in this league, because he didn't think it was any tougher to beat an NLL defender, and he's kind of proven that to be true because he pretty much beats whoever he needs to. But
better than Leonard Fournette. So, anyway, that was our show tonight. Thank you for joining us. We're not entirely sure when we'll be back, but we will be back.
We have a schedule of things
weeks.
we're planning on doing regularly over the next few months, and we're just kind of hashing out which one we're doing when.
Absolutely.
hoping for some cool guests as well. We're trying.
Basically,
right?
the reality of being a Buffalo podcast at this point is the Sabres are a godforsaken tire fire, and they're not fun to talk about, and they're not fun to watch.
They're not losing right now.
They're not currently losing right now. As of the finish of recording, we're in the second period, and they are not losing yet. So take that one to the bank when I'm driving home and listen to the lose this game 6-1. Yes, Mike.
So, according to Dhane Smith's Wikipedia page, his birthday's today.
Yeah.
And his birthday present is to come on our podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad that Wikipedia updated that information that quickly. That's amazing what we can do in real-time internet action. So thanks. Happy birthday to the great Dhane.
Man, I should have looked at his Wikipedia before we talked to him for 10 minutes. I didn't wish him a happy birthday. Now I feel like an asshole.
Well, that's on you guys.
I had no idea. I'll take that. I'll wear the collar on that one. But I bet $1 he doesn't know when my birthday is either.
Yeah.
Actually, I bet $10 he doesn't know where anyone in this room's birthday.
0%.
Maybe we're going to renege on that friend of the show thing I said.
If anything, he should cancel on us because we just...
On part of Steve, I'll wish thank you to Buffalo Bandits PR for providing Dhane tonight.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And also thanks for joining us tonight on the show. We do appreciate every download that you participate in is greatly appreciated. And, of course, you can check us out on Twitter is where we are most active. That is 716 Sports Podcast. And you can also check us out on Facebook. Just look up 716 Sports Podcast. And I think that's... just about does it.
We're now on Google Play.
Oh, we are on Google Play.
Google Play Music Store.
That made my life because it works so much better on my phone. It's
great.
So, screw you, Tim Cook.
Find us on Podbean, iTunes.
Mm-hmm. There's a 100% chance your dog is going to disconnect the power cord before we wrap up this show.
Right, well,
Kira is laying on the power strip.
We had a cord come unplugged without her touching him.
That's true. That's a valid point.
Kira Erik has announced that the show is completed. So we will say goodbye for tonight, and thank you for joining us here tonight on the 716 Sports Podcast. Hey, everybody, how'd you spend your government shutdown this past weekend? Did you call it the Schumer shutdown? Did you call it the Trump shutdown? Why don't you give me a call, 222-KISS. Here's the latest from Nicki Minaj. I don't really know where this was going, so we're just going to end it right now. Here we go, 716 Sports Podcast. How you doing? Bill. Just kidding.
Feel like you've been living through that a little bit this weekend there, Bill.
Yeah.
We all were a little taken aback.
I was shut down. I was trying to go to all these national parks, and I couldn't. Yeah. It was just terrible. I was going to fly to Yellowstone, and I couldn't.
I had a friend that's in the Air Force and in the Air Force Reserves, and her drill was canceled on Saturday.
No basketball for the Air Force, unfortunately. Army and Navy still were okay. That was the sports impact that I'm aware of.
Just be glad they weren't having one of those tournaments on an aircraft carrier this weekend.
Yeah, they don't do those anymore because it's a dumb idea to put a basketball court on an aircraft carrier.
Never stopped.
They discovered that was a terrible, terrible idea because there's this thing outside called condensation.
Yeah.
And when it hits hardwood. It makes it very slick.
My favorite was one of the early March Madness indoor courts they did, where they put the basketball court on like a football field or something like that. I forget where it was, but there was about the court went almost to the sides of the field. There's just about 1 foot where there was not court, but also not stand. So you would get to your bench, and then immediately behind your bench was a 3-foot drop off, followed immediately by a wall with people sitting there.
Yeah, the NCAA cares about their student athletes and their well-being, and it's not a money-making endeavor. So I don't know what you're talking about. So I wish you guys would just stop talking about it. This is the 716 Sports Podcast. Good evening. We're recording on Monday, January 2nd, 22nd, I should say. The biggest deal tonight, of course, is Monday Night Raw's 25th anniversary. And also, there's a hockey game. This is 2 weeks in a
row we're talking about a Vince McMahon product.
And there's also a hockey game tonight.
Hey,
that's pending right now.
Yeah, that wasn't meant to be terse. I was just
saying
I
know.
I don't know. I saw some better punches in this hockey game so far than I saw on Raw.
We have the Sabres game muted, and I said to Bill, if we listen to the Sabres game or listen to the commentary from Raw overlapping the Sabres game, it would be more entertaining.
Apparently, the most important thing in the Sabres game so far was the national anthems, because there was a dude that was going super Canadian country, like just hardcore, maybe even in like a fake accent with it.
I mean, you're literally playing in Western Canada in a place called the Saddle Dome. No better place to be Western Canadian
I've
country.
heard that like Calgary is like the Dallas of Canada. Yeah, like it's just like oil fields and country dudes and big hats. And this guy had a big hat. He had like a camouflage jersey on because he always support the troops, of course. And like he was really all about that, Canadian oil baron life, I guess. I don't know.
I have a friend that used to live in Edmonton, and he said that when he first moved up there, he asked some of the locals, "What's north of here?" And you could probably guess what the answer is.
Not a whole lot.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It just as far as Alberta can go to the upper reaches.
Ice as far as the eye can see, and then farther, is my understanding.
So have you guys been enjoying all the Patriots are using the officials to win AFC Championship memes that we've been seeing in all the groups real quick?
Can I give some stats? Because my friend Eric has been, colluding with me that the Patriots are breaking their own records.
Sure.
The last time a team was penalized once in a playoff game was 2011, when the Patriots were penalized once against the Ravens in a win in the AFC Championship game. And 5 games after Week 10 featured the Patriots receiving 10 yards of penalties or less. 5 games. So it was Denver, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Jacksonville all featured the Patriots taking 10 yards or less in penalties. So thank you, Eric, for that, and that's just craziness.
It's just a well-coached team.
And in no way, shape, or form was Dhane Smith held on that third down run that sealed the game. Don't let his jersey moving surprise you, folks. The referee had a better angle than us at home. On
Ramsey on Cooks was not pass interference.
And Miles Jack could still be running legally because this shouldn't have been a whistle.
Well, Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. The Crisco kids coming through in the clutch, just murdering Minnesota.
You know what a good way to ensure that half your populace wants to climb a telephone pole?
Tell them they can't with Crisco.
Go on Twitter in the morning and tell them not to climb a telephone pole. I bet you a lot of guys were sitting there that morning like, I never thought of that. Why don't I go climb this telephone pole
and when
today?
you coat it with Crisco, they just basically say challenge accepted.
And, of course, Philly fans handling their victory with class, marching down the streets with "Fuck Millie" banners.
Did you see the
dude running into the pole on the whatever their equivalent of the subway is?
Did you see
Philly?
The quad going up the Rocky stairs?
No.
There was
yes,
an
I did.
ATV
Yeah.
going
that
up
was,
the Rocky stairs. Bananas.
That was cool. Whenever you drive up public property, what do you want me to say? That was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
what Rocky would have wanted.
That's right.
How does that thought come into your mind? You know what I'm going to do to celebrate the Super Bowl ticket being punched? I'm going to get in my all-terrain vehicle and drive up public property stairs.
Hot knife through butter. That thing was just flying faster than Rocky ever ran up those steps.
Let's not pretend that if this happened, if at a Rocky movie the Eagles made the Super Bowl, that Rocky Balboa wouldn't be right in the middle of that parade down the street chanting "Fuck Millie," swinging some fists.
Absolutely. And
Rocky Balboa is the complete.
And again, government shutdown, so nobody was going to tell them, no, you can't drive your ATV up this.
It was all a plan.
Up this staircase.
What branch of the government is responsible for Criscoing poles? Because they were apparently not closed.
Coast Guard. That's a pretty dumb question, but all right, whatever. we talked whatever we talked about. It's off air, but that's fine. Yeah. So the Eagles and the Patriots. It's the evil empire versus your drunk uncle at the party. This Eagles team is very likable though. Nick Foles is this ultimate Jekyll and Hyde character who nobody thought this was capable going into the playoffs, but he played serviceable against Atlanta, and he was just straight up beasting against the best defense in the league yesterday.
He had, 7 incompletions in both games? Not combined, but in each game he only had 7 incompletions.
It was either the top 2 or 3 cornerbacks for the Vikings gave up a perfect passer rating to Nick Foles yesterday. A 158.3. It was unbelievable.
Nothing you could do about those
out there.
And you know what? I like seeing home teams win, Patriots notwithstanding. So I was totally fine with seeing Philadelphia. My heart was with Minnesota because I would like to see them eventually, at least get back to a Super Bowl. They have just as much heartache as maybe any franchise in terms of ridiculous losses in championship games of all kinds. This was their second stupid blowout, that Giants 41-0 to go to Super Bowl 35, and then they've had the heartbreaks with the Favre interception against New Orleans and Gary Anderson against Atlanta. So they've really ran the gamut of all different sorts of beatdowns and losses.
If there's a team that comes at least somewhere in the ballpark of the Bills' 4 Super Bowl losses in terms of playoffs ending tragically, it is Minnesota.
We are Eskimo brothers with the Vikings.
The concept of them making a home Super Bowl against the Patriots,
just
at least,
too good.
That would have been awesome.
They're the closest team to make a home Super Bowl ever, right? As in by far the best.
I saw that they were the only team ever to even make the conference championship.
There was worry about the Dolphins in the 90s, but they lost early, divisional round or something. Can we also just highlight the Jags' fourth quarter decision making or lack thereof as they're snapping the ball with 18 seconds on the play clock? Did you see that on 2nd and long in every situation yesterday? They threw a deep ball of longer than 20 yards. It goes
deeper than that because on those they had 4 drives in the fourth quarter. Every time on first down they had a shotgun run to the left. Every time they followed it up with a 15-yard or greater pass downfield.
They hired Rick Dennison at halftime,
and they got Nathaniel Hackett.
Just sitting and watching that game yesterday as a not even neutral observer, I wanted Jacksonville to win the game.
Right.
As soon as Jacksonville caused the turnover and they did not convert, you knew that game was over. You only get one of those plays maybe in a playoff game against the Patriots, and you better make the most of it.
And in the first 3 quarters, I literally did not think they could play any better. That was the absolute maximum they could do on both the offensive and the defensive sides of the ball. I truly believe that. Blake Bortles was basically neck and neck with Tom Brady.
He marched them down the field for those back-to-back long touchdowns.
Right, they were really impressive, and the defense was smoldering. And without Gronkowski out there, due to the concussion, it looked like they were going. The main passing weapon was taken away. So it was questionable if they were going to be able to stretch the field, but against the best pass defense in the AFC, they were able to pull it off. And
you said their best pass receiver was taken away, which is true. So then they just look down the line and find Danny Amendola, which
out of nowhere.
He's been their number 4, number 5 guy, and he catches 2 touchdowns yesterday.
How does anybody know if Gronk has a concussion? He seems to be closer to early Neanderthal than human being.
He really struggled with it. Hey, Justin Earig's here. Hey, Justin.
Speaking of Gronk beating Neanderthal, at the Tide to Go
Tide Pod Challenge.
The Tide Pod fucking issue.
They
got Gronkowski as their spokesman against it.
Yeah.
Why is Gronkowski? He's probably one of the fucking 7 of the goddamn things.
He was the first guy to have a Tide Pod.
Tide Pod. Good Tide Pod.
But here's the thing about Tide Pods. They look good.
Do they?
Yeah.
No.
There's lots of color.
It looks like a weird Willy Wonka candy or something.
It's an everlasting gobstopper that cleans your clothes.
Yeah, you've always wanted to know what was inside a pixie stick, and then it's like one of those what was the syrup or no, I can't think what they were. Like when you would rip off like the baby bottles or the Coke bottles, like the wax things, that was like the syrup inside of it. But then they swirled them together in a delicious lemon lime flavor looking thing. It turns out that they're soap. So don't eat them.
I look at that completely different than you, just to be clear.
That's fine.
The best part of the Tide Pod thing is all the great Facebook material there is now. So many good memes and videos.
You've been living off that.
I saw one that said,
challenge.
Here's how you do a Tide Pod challenge, teenagers. Do some effing laundry.
There's one that got someone edited Guy Fieri taking a bunch of bites of food, but
that one was pretty good.
Flavor Town.
Yeah, I've seen all of these on your feed. So
Justin's been keeping us up to date on our Tide Pod memes.
This has really been your
straight from the source.
Yeah, this has been your well of material for the last 4 days. But I'm glad.
It's been enjoyable.
Hey, anything that we can do to bring you joy, if it includes teenagers killing themselves while eating laundry detergent, that's fine. Whatevs.
That's called thinning out the herd.
Yeah, it's Darwinism at its most extreme.
Raising the world's IQ.
I thought the cinnamon challenge was dumb because that was choking yourself on a naturally occurring substance.
Right. At least it's edible as well.
Well, in theory. But no. Shout out to all the dead people from the Tide Pod Challenge. Thanks for coming. It's a good try.
Hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. We appreciate it. Whoa, I'm about to fall off this thing.
That's karma right there.
Yeah, I know. That was me almost dying. So we're up here in the new studios again, and I think this is a good time to mention Grandstand Sports, our good friends, our home now, our affiliation. Make sure you check them out on Twitter, online. Justin, you said you've been using the player before. You like what they offer, not only just the shows, but the ease of using everything on the website.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've stopped listening to GR at work and just listen to Grandstand.
Don't listen to GR.
It's just different content, and it's all good content.
You're telling me you don't need 3 hours every afternoon during the Bills off season of just talking about the Bills?
There's no John Murphy.
Wait,
great.
With no objective view whatsoever.
It's
Can't
basically state
part.
radio.
Yeah.
You don't have to hear the stolen trade A call over and over.
At least on the other part of it, though, if you guys watched Rive and Peters today, Rive absolutely lambasted this team. Like, it's the polar opposite. Versus being objective, he just ripped them apart.
Good.
He's like, they should bag skate every day. And he goes, I don't care what the CBA says, and I don't care if they're not going to compete on the ice, then they should be competing in practice. And it sounds very like get off my lawn, but he was fired up, and it was genuine. And it wasn't like this is a guy who wants the team to be good as a fan, but who was a captain and a player and had some success in this league, who's just tired of the BS that's being put out there every night called hockey. And I was impressed with what he said today.
Well, we were leaving the Beauts game on Saturday a little bit before when the Sabres game was letting out. And I turned on GR on the radio to catch the Paul Hamilton in the locker room talking to Kyle Oposo. You just hear it even like in the voices of the couple guys in that locker room that seem to get the effort level. Is like, I don't know why people come to work and then don't work.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting to the point where Rive is completely right in saying that. Like, there's no excuse. Like, being the more talented team at this point isn't always going to be an achievable goal for the Buffalo Sabres product on the ice. But not attempting to win hockey games, not putting in the effort necessary to create your own luck and win games, that's the inexcusable part.
Before Hockey Heaven, the whole credo was hardest working team in hockey, and that just doesn't exist anymore. But we can talk about the Sabres. You guys should talk about the good hockey game that you guys saw on Saturday over at Harbor Center. And for the love of God, try and convert some people here right now, because there is successive hockey being played in the city.
There's a banner. That place, I was happy just to open. I think people got the message a little bit because that was the by and far best attended Beauts game I've ever seen that happened during a Sabres game. They've always had trouble drawing during those games, of course, because a lot of the people that come downtown for hockey, especially for a matinee game, take their kids across the street, cheap Sabres tickets or have season tickets. I think people even came into that game after the first period, saw the Sabres getting lambasted, walked across the street and walked into Harbor Center. The Beauts have continue. That's 4 in a row now they've won on the season. They are undefeated in the calendar year 2018. Not by the easiest of means. They had an overtime game, last home game against Boston, and they went to a shootout against Connecticut on Saturday. That game, they were even in shots on goal through overtime. Both teams' goaltending was amazing. Defense was excellent. It came down to 1 goal being scored on 6 shots in the shootout, and the Connecticut shooter beat Levier, put it off the post, and the Beauts continue to hold on to second place, very solidly in second place. Unfortunately for them, the Riveters are very, very solidly at 10-0 now, in first place.
The Beauts are fun too because all 3 of their lines have skill. Yeah. There's some really talented players on the team. Even on the back end, they got Kosorzo and Chesson who wheels that puck around with it's like a puck on the screen.
They got Olympic medalists on their second D pair.
Yeah,
at this point,
good in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Erik had talked to this about Coach Rick Sealing about the talent level in the league and how even though a lot of the what is perceived, at least in a lot of cases, to be top-level talent has been centralized down to Florida for Team USA this year, that the talent level of the league continues to rise. Because basically every year there are 120 to 150 girls that graduate D1 college hockey that are just so good. And every year the group of those girls that graduates is better than the previous year. But now they get to come in here and continue playing professional hockey. So now that 22-year-old best player in D1 hockey comes in to up the talent level, and then the second best, third best, so on and so forth. So every year, he said it's going to be harder and harder to figure out where is the first woman who's cut,
right,
versus someone who was solidly on the Beauts team in the first season might be a rotational player, a practice player, or some of those players might be really working their butts off in camp to even make a team.
Yeah. Wait till next year when all the Olympians come back.
Yeah, the Olympians, everyone is graduating this year. It's getting to a point where a couple teams could come into the league and have
certainly seems like there could be one or two, right?
At least, definitely.
Reading
one.
the tea leaves.
I think one is an inevitability. It's
Steal
more
your
of a
hearts.
when
with
than an
the
if.
hockey fans.
With the depth there is now, they could have one team come in Vegas and night the league. I mean,
I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
Well, the Riveters, remember the first 2 years, the Riveters were the doormat of this league. They were just getting pounded. They couldn't score. They couldn't get out of their own end. They were getting beat every single game. And then somewhere midway through last season, like a light bulb went on. They found their goaltender. They found some good players working together. They finally cemented some line combinations, and now they're undefeated. It's with all the turnover and players changing teams from year to year, centralization, it is definitely possible that a team could come in next year with an entirely new roster. I mean, this Buffalo team didn't really have a lot of practice together other than like Ilya and Skamara, who played in high school together. Right. A lot of these players had not ever played with each other before this year.
Yeah, and it seems like, too, the Beauts have kind of been steadily building. Like you said, the Riveters went from zero to heroes. The Pride have sunk way down after being the dominant force in the league. The Whale have kind of just sort of been, they were second one season, I believe, right? And they've been kind of mediocre all the way through. Yeah. But it feels like the Beauts are the only ones that have been kind of cresting up each year. Obviously, they won the championship, but that was in a major upset.
Last year, they came in third place in the final standings, and then they had to win both of their playoff games as the road team.
And they beat Connecticut, and then they beat Boston in the championship. So, yeah.
But yeah, so it's hard. Like you watch that Connecticut team that is in fourth place, and they had two games against Buffalo in the last calendar week. We had last Sunday in Pittsburgh and last Saturday here in Buffalo. And in those two games, those teams are separated by one goal in regulation through 6 periods and a 5-minute overtime.
Very tight.
There was nothing between these teams, and even the games the Riveters are winning, like they've gone into the third period trailing in a couple of these games. They've just been able to pull it out. There is tons of parity in this league, and if you come to a Beauts game, whether or not the home team wins and continues their streak, you're going to get a quality product. And that's a team that even if they're losing, even if they can't get back, that team will not quit. There is no quit in that team. And it comes from the coaching staff to the captains and leadership all the way down. That team will skate hard for 60 minutes.
They're fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun to be there. It's just it's frustrating to watch the opposite of that across the street, because that's the team that everyone reports on and gets all the headlines, and they deserve at this point basically none of it.
I think the most impressive play of the Beauts game on Saturday, though, was me and Erik coordinating, getting the equipment to each other. It was like a running pass on Washington Street as I drove by, can't stop. And Erik ran up, opened my trunk, and pulled all the shit out of it as I'm still rolling down the street because I couldn't stop.
There's a lot of hills in Pittsburgh, isn't
It was
there?
pretty crazy. I was like, Erik, come
That's
outside.
what they're known for out
I'm
there.
gonna be right outside Harbor Center, driving by in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
It was
Good job.
pretty crazy.
You're doing good work over there.
I couldn't be there because I had to go taste food for my freaking wedding.
This fucking asshole's getting married.
I heard.
What is that?
Jerk.
Who does that?
Well, it's 5 minutes of wedding talk here now.
No, that's it.
Oh, you're sure? All right, that's fine. Cool. Well, that's very good to hear. The hometown hockey girls doing really well so far this season. Strong again.
I think it's
what's
very
the
likely.
schedule like going forward? When are they home again? If
They
people are looking to
home
go
this Saturday afternoon. It is Star Wars Day. If you are of the like to enjoy Star Wars, I've heard they're going to have some guests, some special events happening around that. The game day poster looks awesome.
Sweet.
So that will be this Saturday, which is the 27th. And then they are home again the following Saturday, the first Saturday of February as well. Both of those are afternoon starts. So don't have to feel like you're giving away your whole evening. If you want to give it a shot for the first time, come down to Harbor Center. Games are very inexpensive.
Yeah.
The players will love to sign autographs and meet you after the game. It's tons of fun.
Well, I say
quality hockey.
Live
products.
long and prosper to that Star Wars night. That sounds pretty sweet. Very good. Well, we are going to take a short break, and we will be back with more 716 Sports Podcast after this.
Welcome back to 716 Sports Podcast. On the phone, our first podcast guest on the new phone hookup in Justin's house. It's a house. It has 4 walls and a roof. Bandits forward, Dhane Smith, coming up here with you.
Here we are on the 716 Sports Podcast, joined by Dhane Smith. Dhane, thanks for taking some time out to come on the phone with us and give us a chat.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for bearing with a little bit of an issue. We had an audio issue, but Dhane stuck it out. We really appreciate it. So, hey, did anything exciting happen this past weekend?
Boys came back with a big win, so that was awesome, and good to be back on track.
And obviously, we know that you want to give credit to the whole team, but you seem to have yourself a night with 5 goals. I noticed you gave a like to my Kobe Bryant counting to 5 tweet because that was a pretty solid night for yourself and the offense as a whole. But it seemed like you were in the swing of things individually and personally as well.
Yeah, you know what? When the team's successful, I usually kind of get my points and stuff like that. I'm not really worried about that, but they come along with that. I know I need to be a good player for our team to be successful, and our whole offense needs to be successful as well. So as an offensive guy, it's not entirely too hard to be involved when you're out there almost every shift. We just try to get the touches, and the ball started dropping a little bit later in the game.
And not asking for any of the locker room talk because I know that's between you guys, but there had to be some kind of idea or message at halftime. You know, Coach Cordingley always talks about buy-in, and it was one of the first things that I saw coming up, you know, from Scott and from a lot of the team guys that there was buy-in still in the second half, and that you guys just trusted the system, and you guys ended up outshooting Saskatchewan, which is incredibly rare. But there had to be something at halftime that either clicked, or was it just a matter of sticking to what the coaches gave you throughout the whole 60 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Sticking together. Well, they're one of those teams, like people have been talking about, probably the greatest team in the past few years, and we've got to give them credit, but those are one of those teams that you got to go into the game. You have to respect them, but you can't fear them. And I think the first quarter, we kind of feared them and kind of got away from our game plan defensively and kind of backed off. And then as soon as we started pressuring them and sticking to our game plan like our coaches drop every week, we got a lot better along the way. And I got to give credit to Higgins for coming in as a cold goalie and standing on his head. And it was an unbelievable win. And
now that you've been in the league a while, you're not one of the youngest guys anymore, but it's got to be great to look across from you and next to you and see Vaughn Harris and see Josh Byrne contributing with big goals that were, you know, crucial to the comeback. I think Byrne scored the tying goal with 19 seconds to go. And then even I just thought with Pat Saunders, right, a healthy scratch 2 weeks in a row. And that's a great story watching him hit the overtime winner. But the young kids really have slotted in and done a nice job with the injuries to Frazier and everybody and Callum being suspended. So how's it feel to kind of be one of the leaders and watching these young guys and all the guys around you produce in big spots?
Yeah, we have so many threats. It's kind of weird being one of the older guys, I'm 25, but I'm still one of the older guys on our team, and being a veteran and stuff like that, I have a little bit of more of a leadership role this year. And Vaughn Harris is an incredible player. I don't know how he didn't get any playing time with Calgary last year or this year. And we got lucky picking him up. I played with him in the summer, and he's just one of the most dynamic players out there. And he can take the draw, he can play defense, he can play offense, and he's come in and changed our dynamic a little bit. And obviously having Chase going down, it hurts us, and Crawford being out, it hurts us, and they're both great players, but those one player step up, and Vaughn stepped up, and Josh Byrne stepped up. He's an underrated player as well. I know him coming in as a first round pick, but you're going to think he's a great player, but he just does everything, whether it be the defensive end or picking up loose balls or grinding out there, and he's been a great add to our collection this year.
Dane, coming into this past weekend against Saskatchewan, you guys came off a tough loss at home to Vancouver, a quick turnaround to then go out on the road and play against the toughest team in the league, a lot would say. How does your mindset have to change? How quickly do you have to be able to refocus and be able to get yourselves ready, hyped up for a game like that on the road?
Yeah, you know what, that's tough. Losing to Vancouver, who didn't win games, but you have to respect those teams. Those are the hardest games to come by. They're a great team. They weren't able to figure it out, and we knew we had to be in a battle with them. And they got a game on us, and obviously we had to change the page, and we had a game coming up on the Friday, and going into Saskatchewan, we just wanted to play our game and see what happened. It's kind of nice being the underdog or being the unfavored. I know a lot of teams didn't expect us to win, or nobody really thought we were going to win. But those are the games that are nice because we can just stay laid back and see what happens, and we can just leave it all out there, and I think we did.
Now you go into the bye week now with 2 consecutive overtime games coming up under your belt. As an offensive player, how do you have to really approach overtime to not feel like you have to go out there and rush yourself, but at the same time knowing how important it is to get on that attack quickly?
Yeah, those are tough. You know what? Those are hard games to be in, especially as an offensive player. I mean, like any player, to be honest, you're dead at that point. But at any shift, like the game could be over. So you don't want to rush things, but at the same time, you want to stick to the game plan and move the ball and swing the ball. And we were able to do that. I know it didn't go in the first. I know we had the first shift, or they might have actually. They didn't score. Then we went back. We didn't score. They went back. They didn't score. And then we came back, and I got a lucky bounce, and Tatsana was able to put it in the net. So those are hard games to be in, but you just got to hope for our defense and our goaltending to stay with us, and we just need to chug along.
The second time this year, you guys come off a pretty big win. Everyone would have counted you guys out week 1 because of how heavily favored Toronto's roster was. You guys get a big win and head to a bye. Likewise, you guys go out to Saskatoon, get a big win, and come back to a bye. I've heard mixed reviews. Would you rather be playing this weekend, or are you happy to have a little bit of time to get some guys back or recover yourself? What's your opinion on a bye week after a big win?
I mean, it shouldn't change anything, but I know it does. We have a lot of bye weeks this year, and it can't affect us. You know, those are tough. I know we've been having a few nagging injuries. We lost 2 great players last week, which is unheard of, losing 2 guys in one game and for the season and stuff like that. But hopefully, whoever is banged up right now can kind of get healthy, like Chase Frazier, and I don't know who else is, but. Those are the injuries we can kind of prevent, and we just got to stick to our game plan. We practice tomorrow, so it's not like we have the whole week off. We're going to try to stick together, maybe do a team bonding event this weekend, and then we'll practice Tuesday, and then we'll back at it again. So I personally rather be playing, but at the same time, a little rest doesn't hurt at all either.
Back to Rochester, a team that I think since beating you guys hasn't won. They start out 2-0, scoring about 1 million goals a game, and now all of a sudden they appear to be vulnerable. And you kind of said it already with Vancouver. Those are the dangerous games, but a big one coming up in a barn that you guys have always struggled to win in, and for whatever reason, they always play well at home, obviously, but you guys, no rest for the weary as far as tough road games coming up.
Yeah, that's a tough arena to win in, and I know my past 6 years here, it's I don't know what my record is, but I know it's not good there. So we can't worry about that though, and I know they've been struggling, but at the same time, we got to go into the game think we're the underdog again. I know we might have a better record at the time, but we had the worst record last year, and we got to think we're the worst team and go into it and play our hardest and win those little battles and see what happens. I mean, if we leave it all out there, we're a tough team to lose to. So we're excited about that. I'm not sure if Rochester has a bye week this week either, but I think they do actually. So that'll be good. There's no excuses on the line, so that'll be good.
So you guys play Saturday in 13 days, 12 days, whatever it is, and the day after we can ask you what are your opinions on the Super Bowl. Obviously this is a room full of Bills fans who are kind of sticking our tongue out at the idea of the Pats in yet another one, but what are your thoughts on the Super Bowl? Are you all aboard the Fly Eagles Fly? And be careful how you answer this too. Are you all on board with the Eagles, or are you rooting for the GOAT, Tom Brady, and the Patriots?
I'm not a Patriots fan personally. I know
all right,
no
good
Bills
answer.
fans are. So I'm definitely cheering for the Eagles. I'm a Packers fan myself, but they're out early. My second team obviously has Bill, so cheering for them. But I do respect Tom Brady. He's a great quarterback, but I don't like him at the same time. So, but I do respect him. I got to give him credit, and I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl. I just want it to be a good one, and hopefully the Eagles pull it out. So.
Dane Smith just became a friend of the show by speaking out against Tom Brady, and
it's a really easy in, if I'm honest. But.
Yeah, that's actually the only requirement that I was asked when I joined the podcast was how much do you hate Tom Brady, and I passed the test. So you're officially in. So if you ever want to, come in studio and talk about other sports with us, let us know. But Dane, we really appreciate your time. I know you had a busy night working with the Junior Bandits, coming on with us right afterward. We really appreciate your time. I'll see you next Saturday in Rochester, and good luck the rest of the way. Have some great practices, rest up, and we'll see you in Rochester in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Dane.
Thank you.
Just an exciting win for them on Friday night, and it looked bleak, down 6-0. We didn't really talk about that with Dane. Maybe he didn't want to rehash that out, but down 6-0 early. Another game where starter Alex Bouquet gets chased, and down 13-6 in the third, and they just put a 6-goal rally together and really kind of never slowed down. I don't think anybody would have had Buffalo winning that game even up until the final minutes of regulation.
Yeah, not only do you not have Buffalo winning that game probably going into it, you definitely don't have Buffalo winning that game when they have to make up 7 goals against a team that seems like at a lot of points they can just score relatively at will. But they were able to get it, and Dane alluded to Higgins coming in, cold goalie, comes in and plays awesome. Plays a great game off the bench. Defense got it together. Offense was converting their chances down to the final whistle, able to get that late goal to send it to overtime. And then Dave mentions that it's possession by possession once you get to overtime with the sudden death rules they have there. Just every possession painstakingly trying to draw something out of it as the offensive side. He gets a good bounce, and Pat Saunders, who came over last season from New England, had been a healthy scratch for a couple weeks. Now with the injuries all abound on the offense, gets to come in, and he's the beneficiary. I know the broadcast called him Sanders a couple times, but give Pat Saunders his shout out for putting home a goal that went to review after they cut the broadcast feed, but thankfully for Bandits fans stood as a good goal. That could have been quite a thing if that goal got overturned after they shut the feed off.
I think Saunders he did benefit from the Crawford suspension, so that actually brought him back into the lineup. But there was some. I think he was a victim of circumstance in that he was a scratch for the Calgary game, and they played well. And when that happened, I think that it was just, we're not going to change the roster. And then with the changes that happened with the injuries and, Mark going down and Bennett going down and Crawford being suspended, you had some guys get added to the lineup, and Saunders took advantage. And hopefully for him, that's a turnaround. And speaking of turnaround, this could be a forced narrative, but this is the kind of win in any sport that you can look back at. You're playing the best team, the perennial best team. They have you dead to rights. You're on the road. They haven't lost at home in almost a calendar year. Yeah. They don't lose at home in the regular season. You're being counted out. People are turning off the game, and then you come back and you win in that fashion. If this team makes the playoffs, and this is a long way down the line, this could be the kind of win that redefines the season, at least short term, right? Maybe it doesn't translate into them beating Rochester next Saturday, but it could be the opportunity to point to something and say, remember that win? Because that was a big one.
I know Dayton wouldn't commit to answering it about whether or not he wanted a bye week, but you could kind of tell in his voice that he wishes he could take that group of guys that won that game Friday and drag them back out to a game this weekend while they're still feeling good and riding high on that win. Certainly maybe not the most opportune time for a bye week, but you hope that they'll realize that they are capable now of winning games against teams that they are not considered to necessarily be on the same level as. These are wins now against Toronto, who no one thought they had a shot at beating in their home opener, and they did. Wins at Saskatchewan that no one thought they had a chance of winning, but they did. At this point, they've proven they can hang with anyone in the NLL. Just a matter of whether or not they can consistently perform to the level that they showcased, specifically even in the second half on Friday night.
And their roster looks monumentally different already from week one with the number of injuries. You think of Steenhuis, and that's a guy that is synonymous with the Bandits and, takes on a different role this year out the back door and is just being a real team player, took a slash. And going to be out about 2 months. At least that's the early prognosis. And then Bennett goes down with a non-contact injury, and it's going to be for the year. So the face of the team has changed already with guys like Vaughn Harris contributing on the right side. And the guys that are the new faces like Chase Frazier are the ones that are missing because of injury. So it's cool to see a team that has had so much roster turnover and just kind of plugging guys in to go out and beat a team. And this wasn't an instance of Saskatchewan playing down to their competition. They were running Buffalo out of the building. This was not an instance of Buffalo pouncing on a team that wasn't ready for them. No,
that Saskatchewan team came ready to play, and Buffalo just had the counterpunch. And it'll be interesting to see how they're going to respond to Justin laughing maniacally in the background, be able to respond to a Rochester team that typically owns them in their building, and what they'll do from that. The last game that they played in Rochester, Matt Vince looked like they wouldn't score on him all game because he's just a phenomenal athlete. I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of the guys in the league, and I've never seen someone that's more chiseled. I'm not kidding. I bet his body fat percentage is sub 2%. And they put on all the equipment and they look huge. And I don't think people realize that Matt Vince may be in the best shape of any player in the league. And it shows because, his ability to make a save low and get back up and make a save high is second to none in the league. And, this is... He is special, even if you're not a fan of lacrosse and you watch the things he does in net. And, of course, they can score. They have Cody Jamieson up front and Dan Dawson up front and Joe Resetarits. And it's a deadly team that they have. Kind of funny to see that they've fallen off the rails a little bit. I think they've lost 4 in a row, or 3 or 4 in a row after starting out 2-0 with 2 big wins. So that'll be a defining moment for the Bandits if they can go into the Blue Cross Arena and make a showing next Saturday. Yeah, a chance for both teams to really move towards the latter half of the season with a big victory. Buffalo can go into that building in Rochester and kind of erase some of those demons they've had there recently. They can really set themselves up for a really good end-of-season run. Yeah, I don't think Dane will want to remember last year, but that the last time they would have had a game won, there's seconds to go, and Dane's bringing the ball up the floor and gets unfortunately stripped, and they score and then win in overtime. That's the kind of stuff that happens in that barn to Buffalo. It's like like you said, the demons. They can't shake them. I feel like they could be winning by 3 with 30 seconds to go and find a way to lose in regulation. Like there's just the craziest stuff has happened out there, and I've witnessed a lot of it over the years, and there's been a lot of crazy games over there.
Yeah, to me, having been to a few games in Rochester, that is just a very odd place because, like you said, weird things happen there. It's like the home field advantage is just some sort of demon or something because, to me, they don't have a crowd advantage over anybody in that building. It's basically Buffalo East, but just the strangest ending of games go on there.
They've just always owned Buffalo. And it's funny because Rochester comes to Buffalo and never plays well. Buffalo's historically a good home team. Rochester's really not. Like, that's not it. I think New England was home this past weekend, but teams have gone into Rochester and beat them. Yeah, it's not a home field advantage for them. It's just not the Bandits, which, as you said, is strange because it's Buffalo East. Yeah, it's half Bandits fans in that building when they go to those games. Yeah, at least.
I haven't been to a Bandits game in about 2 years. Do they still play like tunes during the gameplay? Yeah. Dude, I would love if the NHL did that, have like a hype man in between, like the NLL does. I think that's the coolest thing. So it brings such a different feng shui to it all.
Swanee has one of the 2 coolest jobs in the world of sports and entertainment. It's either him or Ron Simmons, who, as Bill and I were discussing off air, gets brought back by WWE twice a year to stare into a camera for 30 seconds and then just yell, "Damn!" That guy's got it made.
Yeah, that's perfect life to live right there. So thank you again to the great Dhane Smith for joining the 716 Sports Podcast tonight.